Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well, not if you're Whoopi Goldberg, aka Karen Johnson. Yeah, who knew Whoopi was a Karen? I thought that was only for white people, like Toyota Priuses and skiing. Roll it, Francis.
Good morning and welcome to the View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
So cute when one of their side gets punished. They sulk like they ran out of raw cookie dough in the green room.
It was something no one could have seen coming. Millions of viewers sat frozen in disbelief as Whoopi Goldberg appeared to completely fall apart on live TV. The program felt less like a daytime talk show and more like the climactic finale of a dramatic series. So what triggered this emotional whirlwind? The answer is Greg Gutfeld, the sharp-tongued Fox News commentator. He acted swiftly, and the aftermath was immediate and stunning. Like most episodes, the show opened with strong viewpoints, a touch of friction, and casual humor. But the instant Gutfeld entered the exchange, everything shifted. His remarks weren't gentle jabs, they were calculated, precision-targeted strikes. Whoopi tried to brush them off, but the damage had already landed. As the panel scrambled to restore their usual rhythm, her trademark bold confidence began to crack. Her tone dropped, her responses slowed, and the tension filling the room became almost physically felt. The studio audience sat in stunned silence, fully aware that something extraordinary was unfolding. Gutfeld never raised his voice. He never used profanity. Yet every point he made cut cleanly through the emotional noise with remarkable clarity. When he brought up her previous statements on deeply sensitive historical matters, the atmosphere in the studio turned ice-cold, leaving a chill that everyone present could feel.
Always, the rapture is here. Rapture's here, and then also I learned that cicadas are coming.
Cicadas.
Oh, for the first time in like
No,
100 years, or for the first time in many, many years.
No,
And
every 17 years this happens.
well, that's not what I read, but maybe you know better. All those things together would maybe lead one to believe that either climate change exists or something is returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground. It can't.
It happens, and the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Whoopi's face locked up, as though reality had just delivered a hard slap. She stumbled, trying to defend herself. No, that's not what I said. But her words barely made an impact. Every attempt to recover seemed to pull her further into a spiral. In that moment, one of television's most experienced hosts appeared cornered, outclassed, and visibly unsettled. Gutfeld showed no mercy, landing blow after figurative blow with a combination of precise facts, cutting wit, and just enough self-assurance to rattle the entire set. Whoopi, who ordinarily commands the room with ease, looked genuinely rattled at this point. She attempted to steer the conversation elsewhere, but the energy was beyond her control, and her voice began to crack. Audiences watching from home were glued to their screens as her composure visibly crumbled in real time. Social media erupted with reactions spanning shock to amusement. "She's completely losing it," read one tweet. "This is worse than anything I've seen from her on this show," wrote another. Even her co-hosts were visibly taken aback. Several stepped in to help, but Gutfeld had already seized control of the moment. "Whoopi, this isn't about you," he stated firmly. "What matters are the facts, and sometimes those facts are uncomfortable." That single line landed like a bucket of cold water. With every passing second, her usual composure dissolved like grains of sand slipping through open hands.
This isn't about race. No. It's not about race. No, it's about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about
What
race
is it about?
because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, that's heroically stupid.
She even paused mid-sentence, exhaled deeply, and turned toward the camera. The audience didn't know whether to laugh or look away. Gutfeld, by contrast, leaned back in his seat calm, composed, and entirely at ease. His objective was unmistakable: hold his position and expose the contradiction. By the time that segment wrapped, Whoopi looked completely drained, as if she had just survived a verbal storm. But the storm wasn't finished. Backstage, whispers spread through the studio as producers scrambled to manage the chaos. The damage, however, was already done. Attention had shifted squarely to Whoopi's on-air unraveling. Within minutes, footage of the moment spread across the internet. Trending hashtags including hashtag Gutfeld owns the View and hashtag Whoopi Meltdown began surging across multiple platforms. Viewers rewound the clip repeatedly, stunned by how rapidly things had escalated out of control. The contrast could not have been sharper. Gutfeld remained composed while Whoopi floundered in frustration and defensiveness. This wasn't just a heated debate, it was a very public dismantling. "I've never seen Whoopi this shaken," one viewer commented. Her words stumbled. Her signature fire dimmed and her voice wavered. Despite her fellow panelists' best efforts, she couldn't reclaim control of the conversation. Gutfeld, calmly sipping his coffee, as though nothing unusual had occurred, only amplified the pressure. The studio went quiet, a silence far more powerful than any applause. Even seasoned watchers struggled to make sense of what they had just witnessed. Within hours, major news outlets picked up the story, and headlines like "Whoopi breaks down on air as Gutfeld calls out Goldberg" spread rapidly online. Commentators from across the spectrum weighed in. Some called it a high-profile example of pressure getting to someone, others suggested it signaled a credibility crisis for the program. "Whoopi isn't used to being challenged, she's built for praise," one analyst noted. Ultimately, the episode came to symbolize something far bigger: the growing disconnect between celebrity talk shows and public sentiment.
Yesterday on The View, otherwise known as Hell's DMV, Whoopi Goldberg asked how much different are the values of the Trump administration from the Taliban.
We have a leader who has repeatedly demeaned women, right? Wants to defund organizations that benefit women, calling on the media to shut up, specifically wants to give preferential treatment.
Whoopi, who had long seemed untouchable, had suddenly been exposed. Even her most loyal supporters admitted it was difficult to watch. She appeared to be fighting back tears. "It didn't feel like a debate," one viewer said. "It felt more like a quiet defeat." Gutfeld, meanwhile, appeared on Fox News shortly after and reflected on the incident with a grin. "I wasn't trying to upset anyone," he said. "I just shined a light on a dark corner." That single remark ignited another wave of online reactions. Some celebrated him as a hero. Others labeled him cruel. But the impact was impossible to deny. When Whoopi returned for the next episode of The View, her tone was strained and her smile looked forced. The studio audience hadn't forgotten, even as the cast attempted to act as if nothing had happened. The usual laughter felt empty. Ratings climbed, not out of affection, but curiosity. Viewers tuned in wondering whether another breakdown might occur. The nervous glances exchanged between co-hosts revealed their anxiety, yet no one directly addressed the disaster. Something had shifted in the dynamic. Whoopi's collapse wasn't merely a disruption, it was the moment the protective bubble around the studio shattered. The entire world was quietly watching. It wasn't shouting that had humbled a show long powered by strong voices, it was unwavering truth. Whoopi pressed on, determined to hold herself together and redirect the conversation. But her voice kept faltering, and each word seemed to struggle to preserve a fragile image. The rest of the panel, typically energetic and outspoken, stayed unusually quiet, aware that a single misstep could spark yet another public collapse. Gutfeld, meanwhile, had long since left the building, leaving behind a heavy, loaded silence. He didn't need to stick around. Everything that followed spoke for itself.
Let me explain. They said that their ovens had gone down, all kinds of stuff, but folks went and got them anyway, which is why I'm not telling you who made them. But can't be because I'm a woman, but perhaps they did
Within
not
hours,
like my...
the media machine kicked into full gear. News sites across the board replayed the footage on a loop, zooming in on Whoopi's expression of shock, her frozen stillness, and her clumsy attempts to pull herself back together. This wasn't a simple slip-up, it was a total unraveling. The polished, self-assured persona she had carefully constructed over decades of television crumbled right there on a live broadcast. Gutfeld hadn't merely confronted her, he had laid bare a deeper truth: she was not accustomed to being challenged. Even her most dedicated fans were left speechless. For a brief moment, the weight of reality seemed to paralyze her completely. She had absolutely no idea how to respond. "This has gone viral everywhere," one viewer noted online. Some expressed genuine sympathy for her visible struggle, while others mocked every hesitation and awkward blink. Whoopi's stumbles became a public spectacle. One particularly widely shared post featured a slow-motion replay of her mispronunciations, a merciless piece of online ridicule that spread without restraint. Even the network's attempts to manage the fallout only seemed to attract further scrutiny. Critics held nothing back. Then came a stunning backstage audio leak in which Whoopi was heard exclaiming, "You let him say that on my show." The moment that recording went public, it laid bare just how unprepared and shaken she truly was. What had started as a routine conversation had exploded into a full-scale media firestorm, with Whoopi squarely at the center of it all.